But what I realized was that the process of raising was so tedious.
Yeah. Techstars, right? You are one of the only companies that I know who are building more recently in this new wave of new founders who, if we look statistically speaking, 2022, $1 billion was invested into fintech. $1 billion alone was invested into fintech just in Africa alone. And from that, a mere like 500 fintechs, raise money, right? In that sphere, in that phase of 2022. You guys are very unique in the sense that you raised from Techstars only $120,000 and haven't gone on to raise further funding from VC or institutional investors or so on. How did you go through that? Because today I think so many founders believe that if I don't raise a significant amount of money, my business is not going to succeed. But then today you are processing billions of dollars. You have 70 employees on payroll that you have to make sure you're getting salaries in for every single month. I believe you are profitable. Is that correct?
Yes, we're profitable.
Yeah, you are profitable as well. And so how do you get to that, from just 120K to building this, great business that what Fincra is today?
Okay. So to be honest, the ideology I'm building with, right, didn't just start from FlickPay or Fincra. So it was something that we sort of formed even right from the days of Quidax, right? So similar Quidax, Techstars, didn't also really raise any other money and, grew to a team of over 100 people. So what the ethos was, and always is that, we're building a business, and from the first day or from day zero, the plan has always been to be profitable, right? Not just to generate revenues. And in order to do that, in order for you to be profitable, you need to be making more than what you're spending, right? And you need to be sure that what you're building, people talk about product market fit, but we also look at revenue market fit, right? So if a product is not making revenue or is not going to make revenue, there's no point building it, right? If you have product market fit, then customers should be willing to pay for your product and, getting to that point. Before you get to that point, you need to be able to manage your costs. So what we'd always do is, so just giving an example of Quidax again. Like I said, when we started, all of the founders, none of us were getting paid, right? None of us were getting paid. We're about 5 of us.
Yeah.
So that was 5 people working on building out the product, just the 5 of us for the first few months, not getting paid. So we're not really thinking about raising. Our first hire was an intern. At that point, we already started making very little. So it was a case of before we make maybe any additional investments, whether it's into hiring or getting an office or doing whatever it is, we have to grow revenues to that point to be able to afford it. Right. And I feel like that's intentionality on being profitable doesn't mean that you will eventually become profitable. A lot of business might not become profitable and fail, but it makes a difference if you go in knowing that you're trying to be profitable from day one, as opposed to going in feeling like the only way you can break even is by raising VC, spending insane on growth.
But I'm sure there was influence, right? So you went through Techstars and you're seeing all these different companies raise money. And you're in the Nigerian tech ecosystem, which is one of the largest across the African continent, where a lot of your peers, a lot of your customers today are also raising money. Was it never a thought, was why don't we just make this easier for us and just raise 500K or something like that in order to build out our office faster, hire more people faster, scale faster? How did you balance that decision-making point?
Okay, there was definitely influence. So just after Techstars, I think we're done with our Techstars class in 2020 April. 2020 April. I mean, that was when COVID started, lockdown. So we were actually going to raise about 600K. And then we started the process, fundraising, speaking to investors, at some point, started getting some commitments. But what I realized was that the process of raising was so tedious.
Yeah.
And because we're a very small team, at the time, I think we're about 5.
Yeah.
We're just about 5.
Yeah.
We're a very small team, and I was, very integral to product, to a bunch of portfolios within the company. So a lot of things were suffering because of the raise. And, this was the COVID year when lockdown started. So investors were not really writing checks, trying to see how the market was going to be. So it was like 2 months into the process. It was so super tedious, and we were able to hit revenue market fit. So we made some nice revenue at the end of the second month. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
right?
The cash.
With this money that we raised, with this money that we just made, this could, cover us 1 year or 18 months burn. That's in addition to the 120K, because we're spending so little. We're so frugal with how we're spending money, right? I mean, it's ridiculous how much we're spending every month. I can't even say it was so little.
Yeah.
So with the amount of money we made as revenue, I think it was at the pace we're at, this was like 2-year runway. So I'm like, if I'm trying to raise here to scale my team and do that, do we really need that at the point? So I'm like, you know what, let me instead focus on trying to grow this revenue that I've started to see, as opposed to trying to raise the money. And so I just switched my focus, told all the VCs, even the ones that committed, we're not fundraising anymore. And, we just grew revenue month on month.
Yeah.
And I think we're profitable. We're profitable as at our 8th month into the business.
Wow.
So just, grew from there. I mean, so profitable doesn't mean we're making millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it could have been
give away,
5K,
bro.
but just to ensure that we're making more than what we're spending.
Right.
And we just, kept on trying to grow profits.
Yeah.
And not just growing profits. One of the things that we look at, in fact, one of the most important numbers to us is our capital position, right? So it's one thing to grow profits. Then it's another thing of, okay, of all the profits you're growing, how much cash do you have that belongs to the company?
Yeah.
So every day, that's like something I look at today, growing the capital position, growing the capital base, that's the bottom line for every business, whether you're a startup or a bank or traditional business. So
what does exit look like for you? Do you, is it IPO? Is it acquisition? Is it you want to be at Fincra for the rest of your life? What does that mean for you?
To be honest, I'm not so sure. My goal.
You got to take your wife on honeymoon at some point, right? So she's waiting. Hey man, look, I've done this no salary thing for a long time now. So what's when? Yeah.
Okay, so little secrets. So I'm getting married again I think in 2 years. So when we hit 5 years, we're gonna do another wedding.
Is that the one I'm going to get invited to? Because I wasn't invited to the last one.
No, so the last one was crazy. I only had 12 people at my wedding. There was no party, just cost. But this one is going to be a big wedding. And yes, definitely will be honeymoon. But my wife and I actually spend a lot of time together. We travel a lot together. But exits, I don't really think so much about exit. I think about profits. I think about making more money. I think about paying my employees better. I think about getting bigger bonuses. So exits for, founders is about liquidity, right? Liquidity from the exit or maybe doing something different. So for us at Fincra, we have a vision that we're building towards, just like you said, payments is 1% built in Africa. So there's a lot of ground to cover, right? And, as long as we're getting the cash, getting, paid well, being able to live very good life, exits is not something that's, is at the top of my mind.
You talk about team and team being very important, right? In this world of significant VC funding that happened in 2021 and 2022, was kind of an adjustment period. 2023 is a full correction period that's kicking off now, and we're going to see a lot of adjustments happening. How do you see yourself retaining employees when maybe a lot of them consistently are getting offers from competitors here, left, right, and center, and those competitors have VC-backed money that maybe you don't have today, right? And how do you see yourself building that culture of hey, look, I know they can pay you significantly more, but like, here's why this is really important for us to have you on the team. How do you, balance those two things out?
Okay, so medium to long-term strategy in terms of retention, is really tied to our revenue, right? So one of my biggest motivations in wanting to like make a lot more money and make more profits is so we can pay our people better, right? So I've always told my team, I see a future, which can be now, depending on how we perform. I see a future where we'll be able to pay competitively with, against any VC-backed company or even a US company or a UK company, right? So I see a point where we're able to, afford to pay at that level, right? And even at the level we're at now, I think our pay is quite competitive compared to the Nigerian markets. So even compared to a lot of the VC-funded companies, we always try to pay bonuses to our employees every year, sometimes twice a year. I think most, if not all, of our employees also have some stock options within the company. We've come up with so many policies like, workstation financing, vehicle financing, interest-free loans. So there are different perks that we try to come up with. Like, we're 100% a remote company, so that also helps with retention, where everyone can work from home or from wherever. Even relocation policy, right? So at the point where it seemed like everyone was trying to like move, so we took like a proactive approach of creating a relocation policy where, staff that want to maybe move out of Nigeria or, move to another country.
Japa.
Yeah, to Japa. We actually help them in the process.
You help them Japa.
Yeah, we help them Japa.
It's the Japa policy at Fincra.
Yeah, we do have one. And, a bunch of people are, in the process of, taking on that policy. Actually, a few people have, leveraged that policy. So we even give, loans for them to set up wherever it is they're going. But of course, we expect them to repay the loan and to repay the fee by, staying with us. But that again puts us under pressure, because definitely if someone maybe moves to maybe the UK or the US, we have to start thinking about the competitiveness of the salary based on the cost of living. So that's why we have to make more money. That's one of the major reasons. We have to make more money.